Hopefully you enjoyed the first episode of Abyss Theory, and I hope to see you again next week. Yeah, now before you get mad, my fellow delvers, just hear me out, okay? I know I left you all kind of stranded on the 4th layer and all, but look! Some of you made it out okay, so consider that a blessing. Blessing? It's main Abyss comedy. Just roll the intro.
Ow! Oh, jeez! Ow! Oh, God! Ow! Ow, stop! Please! Please!
Greetings everyone, welcome to the second episode of Abyss Theory. So, last week, we contemplated the roles of the other White Whistles, Vakuna and Sarajo, as well as talked briefly about a theory posed by the internet regarding the after effects of Rico's stillborn origin. It was lummed that Faputa and Rico are connected via a reincarnation-like artefact, but that was just a theory posed by the internet that was quickly debunked, especially considering the new chapter. Within this episode, I want to focus solely on my own theory regarding where I believe this whole Capital of Unreturned situation is going. I aim to explain Faputa's overall worth, and also how the Cradle of Greed works. I'll also tap into some smaller things that may have been missed by readers in Chapter 51. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the second episode of Abyss Theory. The name is still up for change. Please give me suggestions. It appears I'm very uncreative. The 5th layer. Careful, if Billy comes up to you asking to play jump rope, don't do it. You know what will happen if you ascend, right? Get out of here, Billy. So let me start off with a tiny recap of events. So the famous trio make their way to the Capital of Unreturned, or more commonly known as the 6th layer. Within this layer, Rico's White Whistle was stolen, and upon finding it, we learned the location of the Narahade village. And thanks to this new chapter, it's absolutely 100% confirmed that in the Gacha Corp's side story, Irumyu is 100% canon and confirmed to be the entire village. The village of Iraburu relies on a value system to purchase certain objects in the marketplace. The village's value system is a bit confusing, but I'll try to break it down a little easier. It's basically based on the very literal definition of desire. That's right, literally just stepping on somebody who enjoys things being on top of them will create currency. There are some Narahade that like having tubes sticking out of them, as well as, well, ripping people's bodies up. I mean, to each their own, right? Heck, if I were Narahade, I'd probably want belly tickles. Don't judge me. You tried getting your belly tickled? It's actually the best. Basically, value is a currency that derives from fulfilling the desires of the trapped souls within the layer. Because all the citizens are trapped to the village when they gave up their bodies, they always crave something, thus the cycle never really ends. But moving on, we have learned that the children themselves are worth a lot of value. Even one of their limbs will allow one a life of luxury, but they are not the only things of high value. You see, the princess herself, Faputa, is worth an exceptional amount. Why? Well, there are technically 2 to 3 reasons. One is obvious. Seeing as Irumyu became the village and gave birth to Faputa, she is royalty to the village. Being formed from its very being, she is the Narahade princess. But I don't think that this factor alone equates to a value. And believe me, there is a lot that I must cover to explain my second point. Don't jump off the train just yet, I swear this is all leading to something. So, our little moth friend. Look at her, she looks so relaxed, right? Truly reminds me of my ex-girlfriend, that is if she were part moth and, well, a child. No, calm down, lolly police. Pickell's 18+ exclusive, thank you very much. As for the second reason, well, my theory is that another factor contributes to overall value. She's also partly a human child. Let me explain. Let's take a step back into the Gacha Corp's backstory. No, not that far. So, Irumyu. Poor precious little bean. Now, despite her appearance, I can prove she is still technically human. Yeah, even in this frame. The biggest hint is the line that follows directly after Veiko reacts to Irumyu. That line being, Irumyu could no longer speak. Not that Irumyu has lost her humanity. But on that humanity topic, let's quickly ask ourselves, well, when does somebody cease to be human? From a biological perspective, Irumyu clearly isn't human, but a hollow. with the characteristics similar to those who become hollows by becoming one with her. However, she is still technically human when we look into it from a more psychological perspective. First and foremost, the connection that Veko and Iramyu share seems to transverse the connection she has with everybody else. The fact that she not only resonates with her through touch, but also wishes firstly to be with Veko. And yes, this is actually flat out confirmed, her wish is to be with Veko. Within the newest chapter, Wazukun informs Veko that upon her collapse, Iramyu actually grows weak. And heck, it appears Veko is even aware of this when she's about to commit suicide.
And don't freak out, I'll explain the whole birthing situation very soon. Trust me, it's relevant to this idea.
But back to the psychology aspect, we can relay this idea to animals to establish this difference. Now, animals naturally are drawn to their parents. They imprint on whatever they conceive as their guardian. It's rare for animals to imprint on other species. Ducks are an exception, I guess. But humans are a lot more open-minded. Just because people are not blood related doesn't differ them from this idea of family. Because Iramyu clearly did have a mother, but still chooses Veko to be her new guardian alone separates her from most animals. But that's after all this, right? And correct, it is. But there are still clear signs that she knows Veko and still chooses her despite what she's become. Hugging Veko as an instance, as well as responding to her. Iramyu retains her humanity through a connection with Veko, and above all else, her ability to scheme and feel revenge is also proof that her humanity still exists. Yes, I know in some cases animals still feel revenge, but to come up with a plan like giving birth to something to kill the people that turned you into such a monster, I think that's a little far from what most animals are capable of thinking. So with this idea of humanity still lingering in the air, it's fair to say that despite biologically something else, she has given birth to a hollow, something both human and creature. This would actually explain more into why Faputa is worth so much in the village, a Narahade born in the most untraditional way. Purple Whistle Mickell? Yeah, what is it, sport? I think you're overthinking it. I mean, Iramyu was everybody's salvation, right? So if she had a child, wouldn't that alone be enough to become the embodiment of value, regardless of whether they're human or not? Well, technically, yes, that is good enough a reason, but I have to ask, how did all the villages of Iraburu come to exist? They become Narahate, right? And as we know, even those born through transformation through layers or become one with Iramyu, both still Narahate, but they have nothing of value compared to Faputa, and that's not just because of her origin, but how she was brought into the world. Our speeder boy Margie, who, by the way, has the best design in my opinion of all characters in this series. I mean, look at him. He's so freaking cute, man. Sorry, Nanachi, but I'll take the giant robot dog with various legs, thanks. But Margie flat out establishes that those who become one with Iramyu become Narahade, but not of the ritual place. Those that are born in the way that Nanachi was born probably have life. Nanachi became a Narahade without giving herself up to the village. She was protected by the blessing. Props to you, Mitty, truly the biggest homie. You deserve this golden sticker. I imagine that if a child makes it all the way to this layer and surrenders their life and becomes Narahade, their value decreases exponentially. For the natural reason that Narahade aren't actually worth as much as they appear. Belafu can contest, despite being a frickin' sage. It took so many limbs of his just to keep the MIDI reincarnation. Do you see where I'm getting at? I don't think roles matter at all. If someone who hones the village still is technically incapable of obtaining MIDI without a large sacrifice, then why was Riko able to, providing she gave up her entire body? And I doubt that a normal human body has more in their body than this oversized snake-looking thing. So by this logic, the princess status isn't just because of her connection with Iramyu, not this whole biological relation thing, but because she was naturally birthed from a human child and was born from the get-go as a Narahate child. Her worth is also enhanced by these factors. I don't believe just an arm and an ear would be enough to afford Nanachi and Midi back permanently if we disconsider the origin of her birth. She'd be like everybody else if birthed normally from Iramyu, the natural. And Faputa wasn't human protected by a blessing, so she isn't the ritual either. If this wasn't the case, then perhaps she could afford, I don't know, maybe one or two, but certainly not both the reformed soul and the cutest bunny chick since Bianca from Spyro Year of the Dragon. I'm not a furry, I'm just saying, this is attractive no matter how you look at it. Now that that's out of the way, I know your brains are fried right now. Let's move on to the next topic. It's a lot easier to digest. I'm going to break down what I believe the Cradle of Greed supposedly does. From my understanding, the egg is, in simple terms, a double-edged sword. It'll grant your desire, but your fate isn't as expected. Let me give you an example. As established briefly earlier, the first Cradle of Greed's wish was to stay by Veko forever. So naturally you'd wonder, well then, why is she suddenly giving birth? She wanted to be a mum, right? And yes to both of those. That wasn't her initial wish, however. Remember the line, "I don't want to be abandoned again"? Yep, Akihiro plays mad attention to detail. It's absurd. Let's play on the idea that her wish was to be with Veko forever. This actually makes a lot of sense in referral to the whole birth situation. The Gancha corpse is on the brink of death. With the mock water being all they have, their time is clearly limited. So once Aramyue attains the egg, she begins to produce not children, but harvest, food, sustenance, the nutrients to keep people alive. To be precise, the nutrients to keep Veko alive. Now obviously Aramyue didn't want this, hence her second wish, but the Cradle of Greed would punish anybody who is greedy. And sadly, Aramyue's childish naivety makes her seem greedy. To never be abandoned is considered greedy. It's kind of sad when you think about it, huh? And number 2, well, let me ask. Where did we end up? Everybody loses their bodies except for Veko, who remains chained underground and was actually likely meant to stay down there. It's likely that Aramyue wanted Veko to remain far down in the membrane because, as we know, no Narahade citizen can go down there, in fear of Faputa killing Veko. Reason being, from the very get-go, she always opposed the creation of the village. Technically, if Veko remained underground but still in Iraburu, then the two would stay together forever. So there you have it. Thanks for watching this new episode of Abyss Theory. Hopefully I have assembled some tools that you guys can use to further break down this theory. I do apologize about the intense delay between the first 2 episodes, and not gonna lie, I had forgotten about the first video long ago, but thanks to some recent support I've been kind of inspired to explore the outer reaches of the Abyss some more. And no, to be honest, it has nothing to do with views. Hell, if it did, I'd stop making my stupid shitpost videos long ago and actually been a main Abyss entirely channel, but being honest, I just like the sense of community, not the numbers. I really am glad that people support what I do and support what I've been putting out, so as long as my passion for main Abyss is still a go, which it likely always will, I will probably not be stopping this content anytime soon. Anywho, that's enough from me today. I know I've talked your ears off, and I'd love to hear your interpretation on the subject matter. Maybe the video itself, or even my fashion sense. And again, to reinstate, I'm not the most critical thinker out there, and half of what I'm proclaiming are simply, have you ever wondered if scenarios? It's nothing but a theory. I believe everyone has the right to put out an idea, and rather than receiving criticism, they should be given feedback, and if disbeliefs exist between the two parties, why not discuss it like adults? Just putting it out there. We as the children of the Netherworld have the right to dream and wonder after all. Anywho, I've been your Moon Whistle Navigator, Pickell the Curious. Hopefully you enjoyed the second episode of Abyss Theory. As for what we were talking about next time, well, let me tell you, I have no idea. I'd love to hear some topic suggestions in the comments below, and if you have a theory of your own perhaps you'd like to share, either post it in the comments or send it to me via email. And hey, I might make an entire video about your theory. That's enough rambling. Keep on keeping on, my fellow delvers.